Sorry, didn't see you there. Let's take a break from our regularly scheduled quarantine for a little presentation. Unbeknownst to you, these two creatures actually have more than one thing in common. Not only do they both swim in water, but they also both used to be cryptids.
So what exactly are cryptids? Cryptids, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, are an animal that has been claimed to exist but never proven to exist, contrary to popular belief. Cryptids don't have to be supernatural, mythical, or even all that strange, though many popular creatures acquire these characteristics as their legends grow. The early history of cryptids and urban legends cannot be pinpointed to just one time or location. Each population has their own urban legends that originate from something unknown or hard to explain. But looking online, a common first urban legend that you will hear about is Blarg. Blarg was a man who went missing before we knew what volcanoes were, and he died in the first volcanic eruption known to man. The boogeyman has no one origination point, but comes from around the world. For example, one of his different names is Babalu from the children of Afghanistan. He was created by adults to scare children into behaving and do as the adults wished they would.
The Kraken was first written about around 1180 by the King of Norway at the time. It was said to be over a mile long and could even take down whole ships. Some rumors even say that it could cause whole whirlpools. Scientifically today, it's thought of as the giant squid, which is about 60 feet long. Culturally, it's also seen in movies such as Pirates of the Caribbean.
The legend of Krampus derives from Central European folklore, specifically Germany and Austria. Krampus is known to be a half goat and half demon. During the Christmas season, Krampus punishes misbehaved children by putting them in his bag and taking them away with him to hell. Krampus is also known as the companion of Saint Nicholas, who rewards well-behaved children with gifts. The legend of Krampus dates back to pre-Christian times and derives from pagan rituals. Krampus is actually thought to symbolize the devil of the Christian church. Many countries actually banned the tradition of Krampus, but over time there was a resurgence of Krampus celebrations that continue today. Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night, is celebrated on December 5th, the day before the feast of St. Nicholas.
In Greek mythology, the sirens were dangerous creatures who lured nearby sailors with their enchanting music and singing voices to shipwreck on the rocky coast of their island. Sirens were believed to combine women and birds, playing musical instruments such as harps and lyres. The mermaids are aquatic creatures with the head and upper body of a female human and the tail of a fish. Mermaids are sometimes associated with perilous events such as floods, storms, shipwrecks, and drownings. In other folk, they can be benevolent, bestowing boons or falling in love with humans.
Next Sunday, an interview with Dr. Paul Robertson, where new evidence of mermaids will be revealed.
Oh my God!
Mermaids, the new evidence. Next Sunday at 10, only on Animal Planet.
In the time period of 1800s to 1900s, the Gothic tradition blossomed into genre. There were many influential works and characters, such as Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and the works of Edgar Allan Poe. There was more documentation of urban legends than in any other period prior to the 1900s, and they're often associated with crime and death. A werewolf is a human with the ability to transform into a wolf. The transformation can be either purposely or after being placed under a curse or affliction, and it often occurs on the night of a full moon. Werewolves are often depicted as immune to damage caused by ordinary weapons, being vulnerable only to silver objects. This feature first appeared in German folklore of the 19th century.
Vampires are creatures known to suck blood from the living animals. They date as far back as ancient Greece, with stories about creatures attacking people in their sleep and sucking their blood. While they come from that far back, they were popularized in Europe due to the condensed living populations and the lack of medical knowledge. For example, rabies can cause sensitivity to sunlight and garlic, though people believe that those were sensitivities of vampires. Another issue was we did not know much about comas, and when people woke up from comas, they were believed to be coming back from the dead. And oftentimes, during this period, a lot of people were buried alive.
Fear of the undead rising can be traced back to the ancient Greeks. However, it was popularized around the 1800s when there were some medical cases. These medical cases involved several people dying, being buried, and then several years later, reappearing and walking about living. Later, zombies became more popular, with things like Michael Jackson's Thriller and The Walking Dead.
Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus, is a novel written by Mary Shelley in the early 1800s. Victor Frankenstein created a monster made out of various parts of different human beings. The novel was part of the Gothic movement, which was popular in the 18th and 19th centuries. When the novel was first published, Shelley received harsh criticisms and was pressured to make the book less violent. Shelley tried to change the thinking of her time, and she wanted her readers to view Frankenstein's monster as an intellectual being rather than a gruesome zombie.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
When this dead hand moves, the monster created by a man they called Mad is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men. To shock women into uncontrolled hysteria.
Elizabeth!
To prey upon the innocence of children. This is the story you've heard about, talked about. The spine-tingling, blood-chilling story that stuns your emotions. Frankenstein.
Don't touch that!
During the 1900s, there was a boom of horror fiction writing. There are many movie adaptations of old books and stories such as Frankenstein and Dracula. The serial murderer became a recurrent theme, and murderers such as Jack the Ripper popularized this phenomenon. There was an influx of horror films. Crimes committed by the Manson family in 1969 influenced the slasher theme in horror fiction. The early 1900s was more of a conservative time period, but once more horror films were released, horror received a rise in popularity. It wasn't until the 1960s and 70s that graphic depictions of violence and gore were shown on the screen. These horror films sparked people's interest in the strange and supernatural. The word chupacabra translates from Spanish as goat sucker. The myth of the chupacabra is popular in different parts of the Americas, specifically Puerto Rico and Mexico. Sightings of this creature did not arise until the 1990s. This creature obtained its name from its habit of attacking and drinking the blood of livestock. The creature attained popularity in southern parts of the United States, which then led it to receive global attention. The chupacabra has even been featured in some movies and TV shows such as Scooby-Doo. The Goatman is the demonic creature that is half goat and half man. The Goatman haunts the Old Alton Bridge, also known as Goatman's Bridge, in Texas. The legend of the Goatman derives from the tale of a black goat farmer who lived on one side of the bridge. Local clansmen kidnapped and hung the farmer. When the clansmen looked at the noose from which they hung him, it was empty. The legend of the Goatman has achieved popularity across America. Paranormal TV shows have actually visited and conducted investigations of the bridge. Legends such as the Goatman have become popular in each state of the U.S.
Bigfoot are hairy, upright walking, ape-like creatures that dwell in the wilderness and leave footprints. The enormous footprints for which the creatures are named are claimed to be as large as 24 inches long and 8 inches wide. Folklorists trace the figure of Bigfoot to a combination of factors and sources, including folklore surrounding the European wildman figure and the folk belief among Native Americans. The Loch Ness Monster is a creature that inhabits Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It is often described as large in size, with a long neck and one or more humps protruding from the water. It has been claimed that sightings of this monster increased after a road was built along the loch in early 1933, bringing workers and tourists to the formerly isolated area. A number of explanations have been suggested to account for the sightings of the creature. One is the misidentification of animals, such as elephants. Another one is exotic large animal species, such as plesiosaur or long-necked giant amphibian.
The Wendigo is a man-eating creature or evil spirit originating from the Algonquian tribes. He is described as a monster with characteristics relating to a human. He is known to influence people to murder or become cannibalistic. He is located in the northern forests of Nova Scotia, the east coast of Canada, and close to us in the Great Lakes regions of Canada and the United States. The Jersey Devil is a legendary creature that is said to emit a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. He's located in southern New Jersey and Philadelphia. He has many descriptions, but his most common one is as a flying biped with hooves. It is rumored that he is the 13th child of Jane Leeds, also known as Mother Leeds, who put a curse on the child. In other versions of this rumor, Mother Leeds is a witch and her husband is the devil.
Mothman was first spotted on November 12, 1966 by a grave digger. He was then spotted by 2 separate couples, and then what followed was 8 more accounts of his sighting. He was said to have red glowing eyes, a wingspan of 10 feet, and maybe could even fly at 100 miles per hour. Recently, he has been spotted in locations such as Chicago in 2019. He's also become very popular, as shown by a festival that's held for him every single year in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where they also have a museum dedicated to him and a statue. Unbeknownst to many, we actually have a cryptid here in Ohio. His name is the Loveland Frogman, and he was spotted by 2 police officers in March of 1972. The police officers described him to their fellow investigators as a 60-pound bipedal frog. Investigators then went back to the site of the scene, only to see scratch marks on the guardrail leading down to the river. The Loveland Frogman isn't that well known, but I do have a shirt with him on it. Because of the rise of pop culture, cryptids have become even more influential in our lives than ever before. You can see this in things such as the Gravity Falls intro, which was an entire show based off of the idea of cryptids, and even shows like Finding Bigfoot or full documentaries about Bigfoot and mermaids. It's also very prevalent in movie culture today, such as The Curse of La Llorona, Slender Man, and many others. In addition to this, it's also become more intertwined in people's childhoods. There are things called creepypastas and bedtime stories, scary stories, things like that. The legend of Bloody Mary was actually based off of Queen Mary of England, who was called Bloody Mary for persecuting and executing Protestants. It is said that Queen Mary became pregnant, but never gave birth, and slowly her abdomen shrank back down. Bloody Mary has actually evolved into a ritual today, which many girls play at sleepovers. I myself have done this. Go into a bathroom, shut the lights, go in front of a mirror, and chant Bloody Mary several times. Because of this, cryptids and other urban legends have been intertwined into our culture today.
La Llorona is a part of Latin American folklore. She is also known as the Weeping Woman and the Crier. The legend states that a woman was unloved by her husband who loved their sons more. One day she found her husband with another woman and she drowned her sons. Out of grief and anger, she then drowned herself. The legend states that the La Llorona wails and takes children away to drown them in the river that her sons were drowned. La Llorona has appeared in many Mexican films and has recently gained popularity in the United States from a movie that was released in 2019.
The Slender Man is often depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with a featureless head and face and wearing a black suit. Stories of the Slender Man commonly feature him stalking, abducting, or traumatizing people, particularly children. Fiction relating to the Slender Man encompasses many media, including literature, art, and video games. Beginning in 2014, a moral panic occurred over the Slender Man after readers of his fiction were connected to violent acts, particularly a near-fatal stabbing of a 12-year-old girl in Wisconsin.
Evil clowns are versions of regular clowns, but they take the dark twist and feed off the fear of people who have a fear of clowns or colorophobia. These clowns were popularized by the Joker from DC Comics and Pennywise from Stephen King's book It. They were also commonly used in the show called American Horror Story. Due to the commonly use from American Horror Story, Clowns of America International had to speak out against them in 2014, telling people to not be afraid because Hollywood can take anything and make it terrifying.
Cryptids and urban legends have evolved over time from their origins. Today, these creatures have become a part of mainstream society.